Sometimes it's very important to have the right lender if you're trying to have a business loan, especially if you are trying to have an LLC business loan with no revenue for your startup. Because the thing here is that if you are a startup and you have no revenue, you have two risks right there from the perspective of the lender. Because the lender is thinking, this LLC is a startup, is a no business. On top of that, they have no income. So basically, you got to have extra layers of paperwork if you are trying to really get approved. Let's just talk about the steps you need to follow to really get an LLC startup business loan with no revenue. The first thing I want you to do here is to really have a clear idea about the type of funding you need. The whole thing here is that your LLC right now, you're a startup and you need some cash, okay? You need some cash inflows. But the question is, what type of funding you need? You have different types of business loans, from working capital to a merchant cash advance, okay, from equipment financing to a business line of credit. So you got to be clear about the type of funding that you need. And the whole thing here is that you have to always ask yourself, do I need the funds up front or on a revolving basis? Because the whole thing here is that if you need to make payroll, for instance, then you need to have, you don't have to have the cash up front, right? Because you're having payroll every 2 weeks or every week, depending on the setup that you have. So you need to have some kind of cash available that is sitting in the bank account so that you can tap into it every 2 weeks. But if you need cash up front, let's say you have an investment, you have identified a great opportunity, like a vendor that has promised you 10%, 15%, or 30% discount on a specific order. So you want to seize that opportunity. So you need cash up front, right? So this is really important to see the distinction in cash inflows that you really need. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here as we have this sort of conversation. So I want you to really think about whether you need the funds up front or on a revolving basis, and how much you need to borrow and how soon you need the money. Because it's not just about, oh, I need $50,000, but you can actually need, let's say you may need $50,000 in 3 months from now, or do you need it today or yesterday? So the urgency is really important also. The second thing I want you to really pay attention to here is to identify what you qualify for. See, the whole thing is you are trying to have an LLC startup business loan with no revenue, but you may not qualify for all types of loans out there. Because the whole thing here is that you have a constellation of lenders, you have a constellation of loans, you have a constellation of factors that all affect your chances of being approved. In this economy, you hear what's going on in the markets. Markets going up, markets is going down. Banks are filing for bankruptcy here and there, and people are kind of scared, right? But see, the whole thing here is that this is cyclical. It has happened before. It will happen again. It's not about your industry. It's not about your startup. But so you have to actually have a business loan application paperwork, like application package rather, that really takes into account the fact that your business has a business plan. Your business has a plan. You have a plan to actually monetize your business model. Okay. So you need to identify what you qualify for. Do you qualify for a business line of credit for your startup LLC? Do you qualify for an installment loan? Do you qualify for accounts receivable financing? Do you qualify for accounts receivable factoring? Do you qualify for an SBA loan? So you got to have a clear idea what you qualify for. Okay. By the way, boss, let me quickly contextualize to this conversation by reminding you of today's topic. I'm actually explaining to you how to get an LLC startup business loan with no revenue, how to increase your chances. So number one, you need to determine what type of funding you need. Number two, you need to identify what you qualify for. And the whole thing here is that when I talk about qualification, you got to ask yourself, here is what the lender wants. You put that in one column. This could be a Word document or Excel, whatever. Here is what the lender is asking for. And in the second column, you actually write down what you are bringing to the table. And you just sort of see if you actually can meet what the lender is asking for. Okay. So it's not nothing really complicated here, but it's just a great step because it will help you really determine whether or not your startup LLC can qualify for a business loan, if at all. Because not having no revenue means you have to really like beef up your paperwork. I'll talk about the application paperwork later on, okay? One thing I also want to say here is that when we talk about identify what you qualify for, in some cases, in some, I would say, financing arrangements, the lender might ask you to actually pledge assets, to pledge collateral. Okay. Now the thing here is that I want you to really be clear here. If the lender is asking you to pledge personal collateral, you don't want it. Do not have a personal guarantee for your LLC. Okay. You want to actually segregate your personal affairs from your business affairs. Okay. This is just a matter of principle. Okay. I know you want your LLC startup to succeed. I know you'll do everything. You do everything to make sure that your business succeeds. But there are limits. Okay. You have to draw the line and say, you know what? I ain't going there. If I have to put my life, my personal life, my family life, my children's sort of livelihood on the line, I ain't doing it. You got to really draw the line. Okay. So the question is, can you pledge business assets? Does your LLC startup have business assets? If yes, do you want to pledge that to secure your business loan? And let's talk about capacity. Another thing you have to really think about, right? So if you want an LLC startup business loan with no revenue, okay, the lender understands you have no revenue, but the question is, where are you going to find the funds to repay the loan? Because you're going to have to make monthly payments or quarterly payments or biweekly payments, whatever frequency you and the lender agree to. You're going to have to abide by that. So where are you going to get the cash from? This is a question that is so important because for lenders, they call it capacity. Okay. You want to borrow $100,000. Okay. And that will actually equate to 2,000 monthly payments. Okay. Not a problem. We'll give you 100,000, but where are you going to get the $2,000 from if you're not generating any revenue? Okay. Another thing that the lender cares about is your time in business. So when we speak about your LLC startup business, you probably are in business, like technically, an LLC startup business means that you have been in business for less than a year. And I'm talking about operational activity. I'm not talking about you actually filing paperwork with the state. And, like some people file paperwork with the state and everything stays dormant for years until they just wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm going to do this thing for real. The third thing I want you to do here is to gather the required documents. Okay. When we talk about gathering the required documents, we are speaking about a constellation of things. And I really want to emphasize this because, a lot of folks, if you are thinking that you can get an LLC startup business loan with no revenue and just have a light paperwork, you're not going to go far because you're going to provide not a lot of paperwork, but some solid paperwork. One of which is a business plan. You got to have a business plan, boss. And when I'm talking about business plan, again, I like to say this all the time because it is so true. Some people are trying to game the system. They just go online trying to download a business plan from those dodgy websites, trying to really they're trying to fill your inbox with spam. And the thing here is that you just download a business plan template and you come home and you're trying to really customize that business plan with your company name, and it's just crazy. But you know what? Because the quality of the copy, the quality of the content in those business plan templates is so low. It's so substandard, boss. So if you're serious about getting an LLC startup business loan with no revenue, I want you to really budget some cash to pay a business plan writer, somebody who has the expertise to write these types of documents to really draft you something interesting, something potent. Okay. It doesn't cost a lot of money. I'm talking about $100, $200 max. If you go on Fiverr, if you go on Upwork, if you go on freelancer.com, if you go on TopDal, you have a lot of websites that really do that. Okay. Or you can actually just get a business plan software that really allows you to do that. Okay. So besides business plans, you got to have financial projections. You have to have your business tax returns, or at least your personal tax returns. You got to show your financial projections, your balance sheets, your income statement, your cash flow statements, your owner's equity statement, all projections, not actual. Okay, and you also might need to have your bank statements, your LLC bank statements, because the lender wants to know you have a bank account, right? The next thing I want you to do here, boss, I want you to really comparison shop. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We're having a conversation about how to get an LLC startup business loans with no revenue. So when we talk about comparison shop, I'm not talking about just going online and just getting going to those websites that really compare and contrast business loans for your LLC startup. No, what you have to do is you have to pick up the phone and actually call the lenders separately. So what I want you to do is really you want to watch shows like this, because we have reviewed this type of loans on this show, this types of loans on this show several times. So you just watch a little bit of our shows and other shows, and then what you do here is that you want to write down 2 or 3 or 4 lenders who may be amenable to your LLC startup. And what we love to have here is that you want to go with a lender who is in your state. Okay, it doesn't really matter if they're an online lender, but it always helps if you are able to have a lender in your state and you have the possibility to walk into their offices and sit down and have a conversation with the loan rep. Okay, even if they're not a bank, even if they're not a credit union, there are some online lenders, some alternative lenders who will agree to meet you if you go to their offices. And you have, of course, when you go there, you got to have a business plan. You got to have a constellation of paperwork, you got to have some pieces of documentation that prove that your business is legit and that you are serious above all. Okay, so comparison shop means what? It means that you want to judge the lenders based on a few things like costs, for instance, like APR, the charges. You want to look for their conditions in general, the frequency of repayment, because if the lender is asking you to repay, let's say every day or every week versus every month, this really makes a big difference. Okay, and there are lenders. I mean, you might be surprised that I'm talking about daily repayment. Yeah, you have a lot of lenders. Not a lot of lenders. You have some lenders who will actually insist on being paid every single day. So money's coming out of your account, your LLC startup account every single day. That's really bad for liquidity management though. Okay. But yeah, this is what it is. You want a comparison shop. And then if possible, you want to see if you can pre-qualify. So you want to go for the loans that actually do a soft pull, not a hard pull initially. So what you want to do here, the next step I want you to do here is to really apply and review offers. So what you want to do, you want to actually, so after the pre-qualification phase, what will happen here is that you'll see 2 or 3 loans that are really decent in terms of loan amounts. Okay, in terms of LLC startup business loan with no revenue, the amount is fine, the conditions are decent, so they're not killing you. Okay, so you looked at the monthly payments, you think you can afford it based on your forecast of future business activity. Okay, what you want to do here is that when we talk about reviewing the offers, we're talking about, again, sitting down, and even better, you want to print out all those all the offers that you have and see what really is better for you. One thing that we have seen in our experience here, is that it really helps a lot more if you go through those loan marketplaces such as Lendio or NBC, National Business Capital. You have those platforms that actually consolidate and aggregate the offers for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. And they have more sophisticated tools to help you analyze the importance of every offer and which one is best. Okay, and the cool thing here is that now, mind you, those websites, they actually collect your info, and sometimes people say they sell your info to third parties. But overall, when you think about the risks versus the benefits, it's just a lot better to go through those loan marketplaces. And you want to look at the cost of the loan. You want to look at the amount the term, like does the loan offer as much as you want for as long as you need, the repayment, like the repayment conditions, okay, how quickly do you need to start repaying the loan, and are the payments manageable for you? When we talk about management, we're speaking about are the payment like interesting from a risk management perspective for you, but also from a liquidity perspective, okay? Because the bottom line here is that your LLC startup must be able to generate enough revenue or get cash from another source to be able to repay the loan that you want to apply for. Okay, so you have to constantly think about this duality. Think about, okay, I want this loan, and this is how much I need to prove to the bank that I need to have so that I can prove that I can repay the loan with no problem. Let me give you a few pro tips before we close to this conversation. So it's very quite essential when we discuss LLC startup business loans with no revenue, how to actually get a massive limit or a massive loan amount. It's important to understand that you can only get an LLC startup business loan with no revenue through alternative lenders. Okay, now let me strike that. Not only I said you can only get it. No, you are more likely to get such a loan from an alternative lender or an online lender. If you were to go with your traditional lenders, banks, credit unions, those institutions are more risk averse, right? So they really are covering their asses all the time. And this is one of those things that makes it very difficult to get an LLC startup business loan with no revenue at your local bank or at your local credit union. But what you want to do here is that you are able to actually start a conversation with this online lender so that when you are ready, you basically can get the loan you need. What I'm trying to say here is that you don't need to apply only when you need the loan. You have to start the conversation way before, so you have the relationship. So if you ever need a loan, you can reach out to the likes of Balboa Capital, Smart Base, OnTech, and so on and so forth. Okay, it's not really that hard to get a startup business loan for your LLC. It's not really that hard to get the right amount, but again, you have to do some preparation. You have to actually write a business plan. And it's kind of funny, sometimes when you say the word business plan, people don't like to hear that, but it is quite essential. It is instrumental. If you want to get if you want to get in the good eyes of the lender, you just got to have a business plan. Okay. And another thing I want to say here is that you want to understand that there are alternatives to LLC startup business loans. Okay, you can actually have, for instance, you can try to have a business line of credit. You can try to have equipment financing. You can try to have a merchant cash advance. You can try to have other sources of financing. Okay, and you have to keep that in consideration. And even if you have bad credit, you can qualify. Even if you have let's say you have fair credit also, you can qualify for an LLC startup business loan with no revenue. Okay, and it doesn't take that long to get the loan, probably 7 to 14 days. So if you need the cash real quick, you're gonna have to start a little early. Okay, so that by the time you get the funds released, you are already you can use the funds for something else. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about how to get an LLC startup business loan with no revenue. Okay, determine what type of funding you need, identify what you qualify for, gather the required documents, comparison shop, apply and review offers. Okay, and in the pro tips, I actually answered a few questions that folks asked when it comes to LLC startup business loans with no revenue. Thank you. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time, but until then, remember, stay marvelous.